Hello, I'm Elise Vance, the author of the channel Borrowed Lives, and I offer you fascinating stories. Like and subscribe to my channel.
My fiancé, Julian Vance, a 32-year-old rising corporate attorney, has just finished plating my favorite grilled ribs at our backyard gathering when his childhood neighbor, Chloe Bennett, strolls over and tears off a piece with her fingers. "You always remember how I like it, Jules," she purrs approvingly. Before I can process the disrespect, a sharp voice echoes nearby. Ugh, that insufferable woman is about to drink his iced coffee again. As those thoughts cross my mind, Chloe indeed picks up Julian's custom tumbler. "Luna, don't just stand there and take it this time. Otherwise, you'll burn yourself out with stress until you're in the hospital again." Startled, I look around the patio. My rescue cat, Milo, is sitting on the fence, ears pinned back, hissing viciously at Chloe. Was that my cat? I cautiously took a bite of a gourmet appetizer offered by Gabriel Ross, Julian's handsome 30-year-old architect best friend and clearly Milo's preferred match for my future. "Atta girl, Mom. This time around, you need to choose Gabriel instead. Leave that selfish jerk behind." Milo's tail twitches in rhythmic approval. Gabriel is ready to play the second option for true love. Mom deserves the absolute best. I forced myself to maintain composure as I scooped up the sleek feline from the fence. At the same time, I reached for the spare glass on Gabriel's side table and took a slow sip. No wonder normally placid Milo hissed like a demon the very first day he met Julian Vance. He remembered everything from our previous life, too. I knit my brows. Years ago, Julian had pulled me out of a wrecked, burning car, saving my life. Because of that single heroic act, I had excused every red flag, every piece of emotional neglect. It turned out he was never worth the sacrifice. But why did Milo believe his reserved, quietly brilliant friend Gabriel had genuine feelings for me? Gabriel Ross was never the type to cross boundaries or make a move on a friend's fiancé. When I refocused, the entire patio had gone quiet, eyes fixed on me. Julian's face darkened. "Luna, where are your manners? If you wanted a drink, you could have just asked the host. Why take Gabriel's personal glass like that?" "She's clearly just throwing a little silent tantrum to get your attention," Chloe Bennett piped up with a light giggle, resting her hand comfortably on Julian's forearm. "Luna, sweetie, don't get paranoid. Jules is basically my brother. We've shared meals and drinks since we were 7 years old. It's completely innocent." I glanced down at the glass in my hand. Across the lawn, Gabriel watched me with a deeply complex, intense expression. I offered a soft smile. Gabriel is my friend, too. If Chloe can share food and drinks with Julian, why shouldn't I do the same with Gabriel? Gabriel's cheeks flushed crimson, the red creeping up to the tips of his ears. Milo purred against my chin. I felt a sudden pang of guilt looking at Gabriel. I had just used him as a human shield against Julian. Hopefully, he wasn't offended. "You really ought to go soothe your bride-to-be," Chloe cooed, playfully tapping Julian's furrowed brow. "You're being so stern. What if you drive her away? I certainly don't want people labeling me as the homewrecker who destroyed a marriage." Hiss. Hiss. Milo squirmed, claws lightly snagging my sweater as he tried to leap down. "Vicious creature." Chloe shrieked dramatically before shrinking behind Julian's back. "I'm terrified of cats. Keep that unpredictable animal away from me. That fake snake is attacking us again. In our last life, after you collapsed from exhaustion, she was the one who threw out all your art supplies and ruined your career." Milo rubbed his forehead against my cheek. A cold shiver ran down my spine, feeling like a heavy iron block had smashed into my chest, stealing my breath. "Luna Croft, how many times do I have to tell you to rehome that cat?" Julian glared at Milo with open disdain before softening his voice into a condescending tone. "Luna, be reasonable. Give him to a shelter, and I'll buy you a purebred kitten next week." I trembled with anger, pulling Milo closer to my chest. Milo was the gentlest companion. I had failed to protect my happiness and my peace in our last life. This time, no one was going to push us around. "Mom, let me down. I'm not crazy. I only act tough when someone tries to step on you." I deliberately relaxed my grip. Milo darted straight toward Chloe, snagging her designer silk skirt with his claws and pulling down hard, letting out a low, guttural growl. Chloe shrieked loudly, burying her face into Julian's chest while trying to shake off her heel. "Stop it. Get down." Julian barked angrily. Milo didn't care at all. He kept his grip, glaring up at Chloe. "Milo," Gabriel called out softly, stepping forward. Instantly, Milo let go of the fabric. Chirping happily, he trotted over to Gabriel's leather boots, rubbing his flank against his ankle before flopping over onto his side to expose his belly for rubs. Seeing the furious, humiliated scowl on Julian's face, a small laugh escaped my lips. But a thought struck me. How did Gabriel know my cat's name so naturally? After lunch, the group headed toward the Lakeside cabin as planned. Chloe pushed past me, slid naturally into the front passenger seat of Julian's SUV, and pulled the door shut. I froze on the gravel driveway. Julian had promised me months ago that the front seat would always be reserved for me on our trips. He was about to say something, but Chloe patted her chest dramatically through the open window. "You scared me half to death. How could I sit in the back with that cat roaming around? Besides, we haven't caught up properly in ages. Can't two old friends just talk?" She lightly poked Julian's shoulder. "You got engaged without asking my permission first, and I didn't hold a grudge. Don't ditch your childhood bestie now just because you have a fiancé." Seeing the faint, indulgent smile on Julian's lips, I knew I wasn't getting into that car. Sure enough, he turned to me with a sigh. "Take a cab or ride with Gabriel, Luna. It's absurd to throw a tantrum over a passenger seat." When I remained silent, his expression hardened. "Don't make this difficult for no reason." I stood holding Milo tightly. Most rideshare drivers wouldn't take pets without advance notice. "Get in," a smooth voice called out. The passenger window of Gabriel's sleek sedan rolled down, revealing his sharp profile. "We're all heading to the same place. It's just a seat. There's nothing inappropriate about sharing a ride." He gave me a warm, reassuring look before glancing over at Julian. "Don't stress, Vance. I'll make sure your fiancé gets there safely." Julian looked like he had swallowed glass. I pressed my lips together and slid into Gabriel's passenger seat, holding an unusually excited Milo in my lap. During the entire drive, Milo's energetic thoughts echoed in my head. Gabriel's neck and ears are totally red. He's going to tell you how he feels when you guys walk down to the dock tonight. It was all that manipulative woman's fault that you never realized how much he cared in our last life. Whether Gabriel was blushing or not, my own cheeks were burning so hot I felt like I was sitting in a sauna. By the time we pulled up to the retreat, I stepped out of the car as fast as I could. The mountain air near the lake was biting. I shivered, wrapping my arms around myself. I was about to ask Julian for the trench coat I'd left in his trunk, but Chloe had already draped her arm over his shoulder. "I'm freezing." "Hand over your coat, Jules," she demanded playfully. Julian pulled out my vintage trench coat and tossed it over her head. "Here, catch. Consider it a loan." Chloe put it on, then immediately hopped onto Julian's back with a giggle. "I can smell the lavender perfume. This isn't yours. Why are you giving me someone else's coat? Take it back. I want your jacket." Julian laughed. Fine, take mine." As their loud bickering echoed across the driveway, I swallowed the sharp lump in my throat and turned away. Just as Milo gave a low purr, a heavy warmth settled over my shoulders. It was Gabriel. He had gently wrapped his soft wool throw around me, taking immense care not to let his hands brush against my bare skin. Standing beside me, he spoke evenly to Julian. "You and Chloe go ahead. As I said, I'll take good care of Luna." Julian marched over, his jaw tight. "What is your problem today, Gabriel? Why are you acting so strange?" Before Gabriel could answer, Chloe let out a faint cry and sank to the ground. "Ow! Help me up, Jules. My ankle from college is acting up again." Julian instantly spun around, rushing to her side. Chloe insisted he carry her into the lodge. He chuckled, calling her dramatic, but obediently scooped her up anyway. I let out a cold sneer and walked toward the edge of the property. I found a quiet bench far from their noise and sat down. I lost track of time until someone down by the water shouted, "The Meteor shower is starting." A small crowd gathered near the main deck. When Julian noticed I wasn't in the group, he pushed through the guests to find me. "Are you really sulking?" he asked carefully. When I stayed silent, he softened his tone. "Don't overthink things, Luna. Chloe and I grew up on the same block. We're practically family. We came to the lake tonight specifically so you could take photos of the sky. You love photography, right? Come on, I'll take some pictures of you." I used to love fine art photography. But after Julian and I got engaged, he had discouraged me from taking private client work, calling it an unnecessary distraction from his career goals. Seeing him lower his pride now, I bit my lip and allowed him to snap a few photos. "Let's take one together and put it on your social media," I suggested casually. Julian lowered his gaze, looking uncomfortably caught. "You know how traditional my firm is. I try not to post private relationship photos online." I hadn't expected much anyway, so I just gave a quiet Just then, an assistant called Julian over to help set up the lighting gear. He nodded, handed me his unlocked phone to hold, and walked off. "The Viper just posted online. Those toxic people are walking all over you, Mom." Milo hissed softly, pacing on the grass. I opened his feed. Right at the top was Chloe's brand new 9-photo grid. In the center was a photo of her and Julian wearing matching beige hoodies against the lake backdrop. Julian had already liked it and commented, "Thanks for making me look good." My fingers trembled as I scrolled through Chloe's profile. Almost every post featured Julian. The comment section was filled with mutual acquaintances teasing them. "When are you two finally going to stop pretending and just get married already? You look so perfect together." Chloe had replied to one, "Shoo, don't say that. You'll make him self-conscious, winky face, asterisk." The further I scrolled, the tighter my chest felt. Countless posts revealed private dinners, weekend trips, and late-night calls I had known nothing about. I swallowed the bitterness and took quick screenshots on my own phone. Julian walked back over and saw me staring at his screen. "Didn't anyone teach you basic boundaries with female friends?" I asked, looking past him to Chloe, who was strolling over. "Oh, come on, Luna," Chloe scoffed with a laugh. "I already told you, we're like brothers. You can't honestly expect him to cut off his best friend just because he put a ring on your finger, right?" I smiled coldly. "You keep calling yourself his bro, but I don't see any sign of you respecting his relationship." "Luna, that is enough," Julian barked, raising his voice before quickly checking if anyone heard. He lowered his tone. "Let's just enjoy the sky. You're completely misinterpreting this. We can discuss your insecurities later." I pulled my arm away from his grip and stepped back. "Look, a shooting star. Everyone make a wish," someone called out from the shore. I closed my eyes, wishing with everything in me for a clean, peaceful breakup. After all, we had been together for 2 years. I didn't want our ending to turn into a bitter war. "Mom, look. That Viper's hand is inside the scumbag's winter jacket." My heart slammed against my ribs. I opened my eyes to see Julian's jacket visibly bulging around the waist. "What on earth are you two doing?" I asked in pure disbelief. "I'm just warming up my fingers, Luna. What's the big deal?" Chloe pinched Julian's waist playfully through the fabric. "I thought you said your fiancé was sweet and relaxed. Why is she throwing another fit?" Julian winced, catching her wrist with a quiet laugh. "You never change, always grabbing me." He turned to me with an easy, dismissive smile. "Don't make things awkward for everyone, Luna. Be good." He reached out, attempting to pat my head like a child, but I took a swift step back. "What if I shove my hands inside your friend's coat right now?" I asked coldly. "Would you be fine with that?" Julian's smile vanished. "Why are you being so difficult today?" My temples throbbed as I shot back. "I am your partner, not your dog. Stop telling me to be good or be obedient. Why not try it and see?" Gabriel's quiet voice broke through. He suddenly stepped beside me, took my hand, and pressed it against his own waist over his coat. Startled, I tried to pull back, but his gentle yet firm grip held my hand steady. Julian's face twisted in anger. He let out a forced, bitter chuckle. "Luna, take your hand off him. If it bothers you that much, Chloe and I will be more mindful next time. We're here to relax, don't be a party pooper." I sneered. "You always have a quick excuse for everything, don't you? Let's just watch the meteor shower, Julian muttered, brushing it off again. I stared at him blankly, feeling like I was looking at a complete stranger. How could the brave man who once pulled me from a burning car wreck also be the same person who casually trampled my feelings over and over? Did he ever actually care about me, or did he just like having a dutiful partner on his arm? Throughout the rest of the meteor shower, I didn't say another word to Julian. When it was time to retire to the cabins, I was about to tell him to grab his own room key. But Chloe had already looped her arm through his, dragging him toward the door of the primary suite. I twisted my ankle earlier, and I don't want to stay alone in the guest cabin. Besides, it's been forever since we had a sleepover. My eyes widened. You're actually going to share a room with her? I don't want to share a room with that cat, Julian said with a hint of hesitation. We're just sleeping, Luna. Don't make a scene over nothing. Chloe dramatically let go of his arm and snapped. Honestly, Jules, this is ridiculous. You're ditching your best friend just because your fiancé is insecure? Lame. I've said it 100 times. We're practically siblings. Why are you letting her control you? She glared in my direction, her eyes full of quiet triumph. I dug my nails into my palms, casting an icy glance her way. Where did this annoying parasite come from? Julian frowned at me. It's not worth getting worked up over something so trivial. Luna, if you're upset, I'll apologize on Chloe's behalf. A cold, bitter laugh escaped me. The absurdity of it all was suffocating. Mom, please leave this jerk right now. Milo rubbed against my ankles, whining softly in distress. Otherwise, just like last time, you'll burn yourself out from the stress until you end up sick in a hospital bed. And after you're gone, he won't even bat an eye when she throws your memory away. She hurt me, Mom. It hurt so much. It felt as though someone had grabbed my chest and twisted hard. Tears welled in my eyes despite my best efforts. Forcing them back, I made sure my trembling voice sounded firm and unwavering. If you two want to play your dirty mind games, go right ahead. I am done being part of your audience. Julian Vance, sleep in whichever room you want, for as many nights as you want. I don't care anymore. We are finished. Ignoring Julian's furious shouting behind me, I turned and walked toward the parking lot without looking back. Get in, a window rolled down, revealing Gabriel's handsome face. I climbed into the passenger seat without a second thought, clutching Milo against my chest. The little cat was vibrating with frantic, joyful energy that had nothing to do with the night air. Yes, Mom. Clean escape executed. Handsome upgrade secured. I nearly choked on my breath. Gabriel glanced over, his brow furrowing slightly at my sudden expression, but he didn't pry. Instead, he reached out and turned the heater up, angling the vents toward me before making room for Milo on the console. You don't have to explain anything tonight, he said softly, keeping his eyes on the road ahead. You just need to stay warm. Behind us, Julian's voice echoed across the quiet night, yelling something I didn't care to decipher. Chloe's voice followed a moment later, thin and theatrical. Ow, my ankle hurts again. I didn't turn around. Let the actress perform for her audience of one, Milo thought, settling deep into my lap like a victorious general. Gabriel drove us down the winding mountain road in a quiet, comfortable silence, a quiet that didn't demand composure, but simply allowed space to breathe. My hands finally stopped shaking around the second turn. Julian tried calling 4 times before midnight. I let every call go straight to voicemail. Milo let out a low growl each time the phone screen lit up on the seat between us. Do not pick up, Mom. Phones are how bad decisions sneak back into your life. I burst out laughing for the first time in hours. Gabriel glanced over, a soft, relieved expression crossing his face before he caught himself and refocused on the dark road ahead. The next morning, instead of sending 50 long, defensive paragraphs like the old version of me would have done, I sent just one brief message. We're done. Keep Chloe. She wears your lack of self-respect better than I ever could. Julian called within 30 seconds. I let it ring twice before picking up, wanting to make sure he heard it straight from me. You embarrass me in front of everyone, he snapped, his voice tight. You left with Gabriel. Do you have any idea how that looks? I didn't make you look bad, Julian, I said calmly. I just stopped covering up your behavior. Chloe is just a childhood friend. Then your friendship needs basic boundaries, public accountability, and serious self-reflection. He sputtered, accusing me of overreacting, throwing away 2 years over a misunderstanding. I let him finish his rant. Then I told him, plainly and directly, that we were completely finished, that I wasn't asking for his permission, and that I certainly wasn't waiting around for an apology disguised as an excuse. I hung up before he could try to turn it back into my fault. Gabriel didn't push for anything in the weeks that followed. He stopped by with quality cat treats for Milo, the good kind made from real salmon. He made sure I got home safely whenever we met up to organize old photography portfolios I hadn't touched in over a year. At one point, he dug out my heavy camera bag from under the shelf where Julian had once stashed it, telling me freelance work was a waste of time. Gabriel set it gently on the desk between us. "You notice details most people walk right past," he said, flipping through a folder of landscape shots I'd taken back before I learned to shrink myself to fit someone else's expectations. "Mom, he appreciates your talent." Milo purred, watching from the armchair. "The other guy only appreciated Chloe's ability to hijack your travel plans." I laughed so hard I nearly spilled my coffee. Gabriel's ears flushed pink again, and he quickly pretended to be intensely interested in a photograph of a dawn sky. "He's blushing again," Milo noted internally. "This man is one sweet word away from dropping to one knee." I kept that thought to myself. Some things were better left as my own quiet joy. Julian, predictably, refused to accept that it was over. A week later, he sent a massive arrangement of flowers to my apartment building. They were bright yellow roses, Chloe's absolute favorite, not mine. The exact kind of careless mistake made by a man who had stopped paying attention to his partner long ago. I handed them straight back to the delivery driver in the hallway. He sent apology flowers in her favorite color, Milo thought with absolute disdain. That man couldn't navigate a straight hallway with a map. Not long after, Julian showed up in person, slipping past the main gate behind a neighbor. He walked into my apartment lobby while Gabriel and I were heading out to a local gallery. Julian's expression cycled through shock and anger before hardening. "You moved on fast." "No, Julian," I said, not even slowing my pace. "I moved on slowly over 2 whole years. You just weren't paying attention." He turned his anger toward Gabriel. "You couldn't even wait, could you? Real loyal, swooping in the second she's single." "You left her standing in the cold in front of everyone," Gabriel replied, his voice calm, completely refusing to take the bait. "You were just waiting for your chance." Julian spat. "I was waiting for you to treat her right," Gabriel said evenly. "You never did." Something in Julian's composure shattered. It wasn't remorse, it was the bitter realization that his actions had consequences he couldn't undo. Sensing that the tide had shifted against her, Chloe started spreading rumors through our social circle. Word reached me in pieces that I was paranoid, controlling, that I had used Gabriel to spite Julian, and that I ruined a perfectly fine weekend over an innocent joke. I didn't waste breath arguing back. Instead, I quietly gathered receipts, screenshots of Chloe's profile posts with matching outfits, comment threads where she flirted openly, the video of her hand tucked into Julian's coat, and a text message Chloe had sent to a mutual friend boasting that she just needed to make me look crazy so Julian would come crawling back. One mutual friend, a corporate designer named Nina who had known Chloe for years, called me directly. "I always thought her behavior was just harmless joking," Nina admitted softly. "I didn't realize she was actively calculating every move." I told her it wasn't her fault for believing what Chloe actively staged. Milo helped in his own way. He once dragged a fallen handbag Chloe had left near my building's courtyard entrance. Inside sat a receipt for a luxury hotel booked the exact weekend Julian claimed he was out of town for a solo business conference. The public reckoning came at an annual dinner hosted by Julian's high-profile family. Julian had invited me, stubbornly convinced he could clear up the misunderstanding in front of everyone. I arrived with Gabriel and Milo, who wore a tiny black bow tie for the occasion. Chloe immediately delivered her opening line for the room to hear. "Luna, I never meant to come between you two. Jules and I are just childhood friends. We're like siblings." "Then stop emotionally dating your brother in public," I said clearly. A ripple of stifled gasps passed through the room. I didn't wait for her to recover. I laid out the facts, the screenshots, the hotel receipt, the video clips, and the text messages. You called me jealous, I told Julian, because it was easier than admitting your friend was completely out of line. You said Chloe was family, I continued, but family doesn't hide their hands inside each other's coats at night. Julian's mother looked on in absolute horror as her son's polished reputation evaporated in her own dining room. You didn't lose me because Gabriel opened a car door for me, I said, looking straight at Julian. You lost me because you closed every door I ever stood in front of. When Chloe tried to cry and blame Milo for being dangerous, I pulled out the security footage from my building's courtyard showing her deliberately unlatching the gate to let Milo escape into the street. Julian's mother, thoroughly disgraced, firmly asked Chloe to leave the property immediately. Julian broke down right there, reaching for excuses. Luna, I saved your life once. Doesn't that count for anything? It meant I owed you deep gratitude, Julian, I said steadily. Not my entire future. Finally, the scumbag discovers accountability, Milo thought, watching from beside my feet. Nature is healing. I turned and walked out, Gabriel falling into step beside me naturally. We ended up at the lake lookout where the meteor shower had taken place weeks ago. You can say it now, I told Gabriel, watching the water. He took a quiet breath, looking more nervous than I'd ever seen him. I loved you quietly for a long time, he confessed softly. I never acted on it because you were with him, and I wanted you to be chosen properly, even if it wasn't by me. Mom, if you reject him now, I'm putting myself up for adoption, Milo thought. I laughed, the sound warm and free, and took Gabriel's hand first. Months passed peacefully. I built a thriving freelance photography business, and Gabriel never once called it a waste of time. He just carried my tripod and kept my coffee warm. Milo grew fat, happy, and relaxed, sleeping curled up between us every night. In my past, I mistook being saved once for being loved forever. In this life, I learned the real difference. Julian saved my life one time. Gabriel made me want to live it every day. Did she go far enough, or was she still too merciful to comment justice? If the ending was perfect, comment harder. If you wanted an even colder revenge, your comments decide how ruthless the next ending should be. Like and subscribe if you want to be here for the next story.